What are some good internet rabbit holes to fall into during this time of quarantine? One of my favorite things to do is look around on Google Earth at an area you never plan on traveling to. Zoom way in and learn about the small villages / communities / cities that live on completely different continents or tiny islands in the middle of nowhere. It's seriously insane how humans are willing to live anywhere. I'm in Wuhan, and I started running out of yeast really early in our lockdown, so I made a sourdough starter. Mine doesn't taste very sour, more like super slow rising yeast with a bit more character, but it was a fun project and I prefer bread made with my starter to using the commercial yeast I've since gotten, though the commercial stuff is necessary if I need a quick rise. If you're into music, there are a ton of great channels on YouTube. Rick Beato does a lot of music and song analyzes. Alex Ball has done some documentaries about Roland and the Prophet's synthesizers. All really interesting history and information. True Cuckoo is a dude who has a ton of videos about synthesizers, drum machines and jams. Not to mention tutorials. There's so much that you can learn. I started with guitar and recently I got into synths and drum machines, and YouTube is a great place to get to learn from plenty of talented people. I missed a ton, but I guess you can do the exploring yourself. Honestly, I just like looking up random shit and people I hear about from TV shows, Reddit etc on Wikipedia, and digging through connected articles. Like I looked up Kenny Rogers, and after a few links ended up on Shel Silverstein's page, where I learned he wrote Johnny Cash's A Boy Named Sue. A game I like to call Wikiphone. Pick a person, event, or what have you that you want to learn more about, read the wiki page about it, and click one hyperlink from that page. Do the same for the next, and then the next and the next, and so on for an hour. Then compare the last page you read with the first, and try to find a connection. It's dumb, and just an excuse to read a bunch of random stuff on Wikipedia, but I like it. Hitler and the occult. My girlfriend likes reading, and I told her to read up on that. Now our FaceTime conversations over the past 3 days are 90% I read that Hitler. I was fascinated with the occult years ago, but now at 34 years old I'm interested in naps and wrestling. Well, wrestling. I've been a fan since I was 7. So much like video games. If it isn't work that consumes my life. I tried to get her into wrestling this weekend by giving her my WWE Network password, but she doesn't get it. It's cool. At least she tried. Her brother is taking advantage of it, at least, because the recently viewed is spammed with old DCW TV episodes. A good choice. I started binge watching the YouTube Michael Reeves for his robotics and his humor. Even though previously I was never interested in engineering, I've really started to enjoy the topic due to how hilarious he is, and I know it sounds disgusting, but I truly do ship him and his girlfriend, and the fact that they started dating warms my heart. I generally like reading or watching documentaries about different periods of history or aspects of a certain war or other topics. It's interesting to me to learn what was going on in the world at the same time in different regions. For instance, the irony of the French financially and militarily backing the United States in the American Revolution, and then barely a decade later all the French that supported the US were losing their heads in the French Revolution, in large part because of the financial ruin supporting the Americans caused. For the past several years I have really been into early civilizations such as the Sumerians, as well as early human creation stories. There's this YouTube channel called Bob Jimlin. He does video essays about Bigfoot. As ridiculous as it may sound, he single-handedly convinced me of the existence of the Squatch. Was a complete non-believer beforehand. Pretty long videos and they are pretty entertaining, even if they don't convince you of anything. I have went down the fungi rabbit hole in YouTube, and holy shit, it is so fascinating and interesting to see and observe so many species of fungi in the wild. Seriously, there are some really good foraging videos on YouTube you can watch. Totally would recommend. Can't search for fungi due to quarantine, though. The UFO phenomenon. Just go in with an open mind and treat like real life based fiction, I guess. If you like paranormal and things of the sort, you'll likely find some stuff interesting. I'm not talking about looking up shitty YouTube videos of UFOs, but rather reading actual books by respectable authors, such as Jax Valley. There is a website called Every Noise at Once, or everynoise.com, that maps out every known genre of music, to which you can click on each genre to hear a sample, as well as see what artists fit in that genre. At first, it can seem a bit overwhelming, but if you love music, it's a great way to get lost for hours discovering different genres and bands. Also, they have a playlist on Spotify as well, The Sound of Everything. Researching corruption in the government as well as reading some really interesting books you can find online. Pretty much every president in the 20th and 21st century had a lot of sketchy things that they did. Currently looking at the Clintons, and it is fascinating and somewhat disgusting. It's something that you can't look away from. With all this virus, germs, and bacteria talk, I went down the rabbit hole and read about belly button bacteria. How it is full of crazy bacteria, and probably the dirtiest parts of your body. One thing a scientist wrote was something like this: American guy tested for naval bacteria had a bacteria that only is known in Japanese soil, yet this guy never went to Japan. From 60 belly buttons, the team found 2,368 bacterial species, 1,458 of which may be new to science. Some belly buttons harbored as few as 29 species and some as many as 107, although most had around 67. Not our internet hole, but if you're like me and need background noise, I have been working my way through past seasons of Survivor on Hulu. They have like 36 seasons. I don't think I could work all the way through them even during the pandemic, if I wanted to. Easy, vapid, shallow background noise. You can bounce in and out at will, and not really miss much at all. Kinda nice. Oh, definitely conspiracy theory videos. I recently started watching the theory videos that The Simpsons is able to predict future events and I'm hooked. For example, Cobb, they predicted his death a few years ago, and then it happened pretty much exactly how The Simpsons predicted it to happen earlier this year. Might be boring, but I was planning on having career change before this whole situation happened. So now I'm just taking a bunch of free online courses for project management, web developer and such to basically build up my resume by the time we can officially go back to normal. Right now, I'm plunging myself into comics. I started with Ultimate Spider-Man, and I'm now on Cataclysm of that universe, but it's around 100 plus issues each series, and there are like 4 major ones: Fantastic Four, Ultimates, X-Men, and Spider-Man. But from what I've heard, Spider-Man's the best one and the others aren't too good, but still a good read. You also could check out the 616 universe, which is the main Marvel universe and dates back to 1960s, so you'll probably never run out of something to read. Challenge yourself on one of the Millennium Prize problems. They are 7 math problems regarded as very important for the math community. A correct solution of any problems will net you a $1 mil reward. One has already been solved by Grigory Perelman, but he refused the reward. It was pretty big news in 2003. The problems are precise questions, like a puzzle, and it's up to you how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go in exploring them. I'm not a mathematician, but I've already spent at least 2 weeks thinking about the Riemann hypothesis problem. I'd recommend YouTubing it. The problem deals with an infinite series of numbers which when added up results in a finite number. My own questionable progress on this problem feels very rewarding.